Good evening from this part of the world, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the meeting, and sorry for the slight delay, so the slight technical issue. So, yeah, everyone is welcome. You are welcome to our October SCIENCOON webinar. You are welcome. Thank you for joining this meeting. My name is Ibe Richmore. I am a 500 level student at Federal University of Technology, Akure. I am the Director of Science and Director of Research and Admin at SCIENCOON FUTA. And it's a privilege that I'm hosting this meeting today. So let me just be fast with the introduction. So as we all know, SCIENCOON run webinars since February, and this is the ninth webinar. And I know some people are wondering what is SCIENCOON, some people that are joining us for the first time. So SCIENCOON is a Nigerian-based science club that gives students a place to express their scientific curiosity, develop their scientific knowledge, and pursue their interest in engaging in scientific activities. Now, the club goals is to host seminars like this, workshop like our just concluded clean water workshop, school outreaches that we did to various schools in Akure, and career mentorship, exhibitions, quiz competitions, and other events to foster knowledge and experts in science. Now, this club provides opportunity for like-minded like me and you to join through membership and volunteering for projects and programs. Members of the club are from different areas of life sciences, including every individual in life science. Like me, I'm from biotechnology, and it's such a great time to be part of SCIENCOON as we are the current face of FUTA. Yes, the face of FUTA at FUTA page, and it's such a great fit. So part of our achievements that we organized, we just organized our just completed workshop, in clean water workshop, which was a huge success. Thanks to everyone that attended, and I'm sure you were impacted. And we also organized our SCIENCOON outreach, where we visited various schools in Akure to tell them that school is not scam. Now, finally, our achievement, our monthly achievement is our monthly event is our webinar like this, which is at the end of every month. And we've done it since February. I think February webinar, we started February, and the theme of the webinar was neuroscience in our contemporary world of science. Now, hope you are hearing me. Okay. Yes, the second one was in March, which was building a career in life sciences. The third one was in April, discovering your place in the world of science. The one in May was bioinformatics and its relevance. The fifth one was in June, transitioning in career, while the next one was scientific publication. The next one was Drosophila melanogaster as a model organism in biomedical research. And the last one, the September webinar, was the astrobiology and space science, where we had someone from outside the country, Ryan Kirby, come and lecture us about astrology and space science. So SCIENCOON is we are multidisciplinary, like we cut across all fields of science. And this October webinar that I'm privileged to host is on the topic of food, and I'm a food person. Like my interest is food biotechnology, so it was a coincidence that I'm hosting this webinar today. So our speaker for today's webinar is, like, you can all see my screen. You can comment in the chat box if you can see my screen. Is Dr. S.A. Adefega. Yes, Dr. S.A. Adefega. I'll just read his short bio. I think is he online? Has he joined us? Yes. Okay, since he has not joined us, okay, let me just wait for him to join. Okay, before I read his bio, and okay, he has joined. Okay, yeah, welcome, sir. So our speaker for today's webinar is Dr. S.A. Adefega. And Dr. S.A. Adefega is an associate professor at the Federal University of Technology, Akure, FUTA, who recently, on Thursday, 5th of October 2023, was among the Nigerian researchers listed in the 2023 World Top 2% Best Scientists. I feel that deserves a round of applause, please. Congratulate him in the chat box below. In early 2023, he was awarded the International Society of Neurochemistry, ISM, and that supported school grant to host 27 young aspiring neuroscientists from the African region at the Federal University of Technology, Akure. The proposed school aims to provide holistic education and learning experience under the theme neuroinflammation and neuroimmunology, the two faces of the coin. Dr. Adefega obtained a BSc degree from biochemistry from the University of Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria. He obtained his MSc degree in biochemistry, particularly xenobiochemistry from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria, and a PhD degree in applied biochemistry from the Federal University of Technology, Akure. He also won his sandwich training educational program, that's the STEP, by the Abdul Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics, STEP ICTP, and International Atomic Energy Agency for 3 successive years at the University of Tricity, yes, did I get it? Yes, Italy. He had his pre-doctoral and postdoctoral trainings at the Technical University of Dresden, Germany, and Federal University of Santa Maria, Brazil, respectively. His research interest focuses on the critical role of food and food bioactive compounds in disease prevention and health promotion. His research has demonstrated that some bioactive food compounds, phenolic acids, flavonoids, alkaloids, and essential oils attenuate free radicals mediated neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and other degenerative diseases, including type 2 diabetes, hypertension, erectile dysfunction, and rheumatoid arthritis. Dr. Adefega has supervised several undergraduate and postgraduate students. He has published over 150 articles in referred journals and has 2 patents to his credit. He has also contributed as a reviewer for several scientific journals. So that, guys, this is our speaker for. Let's just welcome him as he takes us for this month's webinar. And please, I admonish each and every one of us to get our pen and paper down and jot things down. Though the webinar will be uploaded to the record we get. Now, I know a lot of you have been asking for certificates for your webinar. Yes, certificate will be issued at the end of the last webinar for the year, which will be in November. Attendance. Yes, we take attendance for every webinar. So 60% attendance, that's 6 out of 10. So if you have not been joining, this is the right time to join. So with no much talk, let's welcome Dr. S.A. Adefega. Thank you so much, sir. It's an honor, sir.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Oh, very good. Okay, so I'll go on now. Let me see if I'll be able to share my slide. You cannot start screen sharing while other participants is sharing. Is anybody sharing anything?
Yes, sir, I've unshared, sir.
Okay, you have unshared now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so can everybody see my my PowerPoint now?
Okay, we can't see it yet, sir.
Okay, so I want to be sure before I start. Okay, now, not yet shared. Okay, is it shared now?
No, sir, it's not yet shared.
Okay, all right, okay. Share screen. Okay, what happened? All right.
Yeah. You can say it now.
There's an issue.
No.
All right, let me be sure. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. Low system resource may affect. Sorry about that. I coming now. Yes. Is the screen shared now?
Yes, sir, we can see it, sir.
Oh, all right. Yes. Good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to give this talk. I want to sincerely acknowledge and appreciate everyone. You know, I'm passionate about young people, and I'm passionate about also mentoring young people, because we are in a world where most young people are interested in music. I'm not saying music is not good, but when you see young people that are interested in science, you know, they pear um, pear grapes, black colorant, other fruits, oranges, rich, all these fruits, they are rich in quercetin, chlorogenic acid, caffeic acid. You talk about rutin in them. You talk about anthocyanidins in all of these colored fruits. And you know, this coloring, when you see a particular food with natural colorants, it's you enjoy from that fruit, from that vegetable, you should also know that there are certain things hidden in them in form of food bioactives. So that is these are examples. We could also go on ahead to talk about curcumin in turmeric. We can talk about hesperidin in citrus, in oranges. We can also talk about some important chlorogenic acid routine in fruits and vegetables. We can talk about curcumaric acid in our rice. We can talk about iginol in konofuru, in clove buds. We can talk about all of this, you know, because they are the main food bioactives in some of these foods. So I want to encourage us that, you know, based on food bioactives, it's important to eat certain foods based on a particular food bioactives. On a lighter mood, when my son or my daughter, there was a particular time she saw me eating bitter cola, and I was trying to and she said, "Daddy, can I eat?" And I gave her small bitter cola, and after tasting, he said, "Daddy, take." She returned it back to me because why? It's bitter. So beyond the nutritional benefits we derive from these food bioactives, we must know that, you know, beyond the food nutrients that we get from food, there is also what we call food bioactives. They are the extra nutritional components that are present in food, and they are the fighters. They are the one that will fight diseases. They are the one that will elevate and increase good health. So this is another article of mine that I wrote on functional food and nutraceuticals as dietary intervention in chronic diseases, novel perspective for health promotion and disease. And so in this article, what I did was to project this food that have these foods rather that have these biological function, the biological function of health promotion and disease prevention. And we can see the kinds, these biological effects: anti-cancer, anti-arthritis, anti-proliferative, that is, it can stop the proliferation of cancer, hypocholesterolemic, that is, it can lower cholesterol level, immunomodulatory, that is, it can modulate immune system. There are some immune systems that want to malfunction. For example, in autoimmune diseases, we have these functional foods being able, these functional foods that are rich in bioactive and in bioactive compounds are able to modulate the immune system. We could also talk about the anti-hypertensive properties of these, that is, they are able to prevent hypertension, neuroprotective, that they are able to protect the brain from damage. They are able to protect the brain from damage. We could also talk about antimicrobial. They are able to protect against microbial attack, anti-diabetes. They are able to protect against they are able to prevent diabetes. They are able to prevent diabetes. Now, having said that, I like to digress a little bit to look at the chronic diseases, these chronic diseases. Now, in 2016, the World Health Organization and Global Health Initiative, they came up with the 10 leading causes of death in 2016. And if you look at these 10 leading causes of death globally, you will discover that there are just 3 infectious diseases out of all of them. Talking about the lower respiratory infection, even as much as COVID killed, COVID did not kill people as much as ischemic heart disease. Ischemic heart disease is the major killer in the world. You just hear that someone slept in the night and the following morning the person did not wake up. The reason, in most cases, I'm not dissociating the fact that there could be demonic attack in the night, but beyond demonic attack, we can talk about ischemic heart disease as one of the major leading causes of death globally. We can talk about stroke, which is the twin brother of ischemic heart disease. Chronic pulmonary diseases, that talks about lung diseases, lower respiratory infection. Here we can talk about COVID and the likes. So that talks about number 4. And we can see these 10 leading causes of the diabetes, tuberculosis, diarrhea. All of these ones are infectious. Cancer. Okay, so we can see here that these are leading causes of it. Now, I checked through. In 2019, this thing, they still maintain this chart. This chart was still maintained. In 2023, a few days ago, I checked online, which you can also check. The leading causes of death in 2023 is ischemic heart disease. There's no significant difference in this chart. So it means that it is these chronic diseases that are causing major death. They are the major causes of death globally. And I must tell you that, food bioactives can play a crucial role in preventing these chronic diseases. They can as well promote our health, promote good health, if we consume them in considerable amount. Okay, now, the chronic diseases, it means that they are progressive. When something is chronic, it means that it started small. It started somewhere. It's degenerative. It starts with breakdown of a particular cell. It breaks this tissue. It breaks organ, and then it causes systemic breakdown. Of course, what they do is that they deteriorate. They cause gradual deterioration. And so, however, our lifestyle, the lifestyle of a man, can increase the deterioration of these tissues, of this organ, of this system. And of course, we could also talk about degenerative diseases, as in most cases, they are non-infectious. They are non-infectious. Now, what could be the causes of these degenerative diseases? What should be the causes of these degenerative? Number 1, we could see from this slide, we could see DNA damage as the central, as the focal point. And this DNA damage resulted from free radical actions. Free radicals are unstable, so they are unstable ions. They are unstable ions that are produced. They are produced and they are unstable, and because of their instability, they want to attack stable molecules like the DNA, like the proteins, like the lipids, so that they want to cause damage on this. Just like the Yoruba adage, say ọpọlọ wá bí tó tutù tó fẹ́ bá sí. They are unstable and they are now looking for a place to bind to, so that they can maintain some forms of stability. But as they are trying to maintain some forms of stability, they are causing enormous damage. Okay, so these are sources of these free radicals. Okay, these free radicals, examples of free radicals are hydroxyl ion, superoxide ion, nitric oxide, nitric oxide. We could also talk about peroxynitrite. We could talk about all of these. And then the non-radicals, which are family members of the reactive oxygen species. We talk about hydrogen peroxide. We talk about reactive oxygen. We talk about apochlorous. We talk about ozone. So these are reactive oxygen species. From the name, it indicates that they are highly reactive. So when someone is highly reactive, you need to be careful. For example, a spinster that is looking for husband is highly reactive. She doesn't to slow them down, to ensure that they don't cause damage. But in a situation where these reactive oxygen species are higher, the production of this is higher than that of antioxidant status. Then you talk about oxidative stress. In another form, when the antioxidant status of the body, which should be attained in most cases by consumption of food bioactives, when these antioxidants are depleted, when they are not sufficient, when they are not enough in the body, then oxidative stress sets in. All right, are we following? All right, so now the next slide shows us how this oxidative stress could be pivotal to all of these chronic diseases. Now, this oxidative stress is like the culprit, is like the major causative agent for a number of these degenerative diseases, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, Alzheimer's disease, and other neurodegenerative disease, erectile dysfunction, cardiovascular diseases, hypertension, arteriosclerosis. Now, I will quickly run through this. Now, this is ischemic heart disease. Since we read from that graph that we saw earlier, where ischemic heart disease is the major causes of death, is the major cause of death globally. So we need to be very careful. It's simple. It means that the blood vessels that are carrying blood away from the heart, and when they become blocked, when they are blocked and they are not able to do what is needful, they are not able to do the needful, then ischemic heart disease comes in. And there are two major factors. The first factor is hypertension. Hypertension is a major factor for ischemic heart disease. It's a silent killer because it has to do with persistent elevation in blood pressure. Secondly, and of course, this is the biochemical jargons on it. So since I know that we don't have all of you are not biochemists, so let me not dwell too much on this pathway. But the green colorations, they are critical enzymes, they are critical biomolecules along critical pathways. Okay, so the moment these enzymes begin to malfunction, then hypertension will set in. So we talk about NTPDase, arginase, angiotensin converting enzyme, cholinesterase, and adenosine deaminase. All these enzymes are critical in hypertension. And of course, they are also therapeutic targets in managing hypertension. Now, the most critical enzyme in the pathophysiology of hypertension is the angiotensin converting enzyme. This enzyme is crucial because this enzyme is released from two regions, majorly from two major organs, the lungs and the kidney. And this enzyme, they are critical in vasoconstriction, in ensuring vasoconstriction. So angiotensin converting enzyme is pivotal to hypertension. Now, another risk factor for ischemic heart disease is hypercholesterolemia. Hypercholesterolemia talks about excessive high level of cholesterol in the blood. When you have excessive cholesterol in the blood, then it means it's that's an indication of hypercholesterolemia. And in most cases, it's visible as accumulation of fats along the blood vessel. So these are the two major causative factors for ischemic heart disease, which is the leading cause of death globally. Another disease is Alzheimer's disease. Now, the Alzheimer's disease is a neurodegenerative disease. Now, it's characterized by memory loss. Maybe you kept money under your pillow and you are looking for that money. It could be an indication of Alzheimer's disease. In the past, it is regarded as the disease of the old people. But now, even young people who are young could develop Alzheimer's. And it's characterized by beta amyloid aggregation, hyperactivity of acetylcholinesterase, then hyperphosphorylation of the FAO proteins, okay, and then the formation of plaque on the brain cells. So these are the features of Alzheimer's, but the physical features or the ones that we can relate to is memory loss, and then we could have some forms of cognitive dysfunction. So these are the visible features of Alzheimer's disease. Okay, now and of course, oxidative stress is a major culprit in the pathophysiology of Alzheimer's disease. Now I move on to rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis has to do with so rheumatoid arthritis, it's an inflammatory disease. So there's inflammation at that site, okay? And it is characterized by pain and swelling. So there's swelling in that area. And of course, it happens majorly on the bone. It destroys the bone. It destroys the cartilage. It destroys tendon and muscles of the patient. Now, another disease condition that we have also worked on in my research group is erectile dysfunction. That, of course, inability to maintain sufficient erection for sexual activity. Okay, so it's another one that we have also worked on in our group. Another one is diabetes mellitus. Of course, the L in an LD individual, after the normal food digestion, insulin is switched on from the pancreas to convert the glucose in the blood into glycogen in the muscle and glycogen in the liver. However, in situation of type 1 diabetes, the pancreas is destroyed. The beta cells of the pancreas is destroyed, and then the pancreas is not able to produce sufficient insulin necessary for the conversion of glucose in the blood into glycogen. But in type 2 diabetes, there's nothing wrong with the pancreas. Of course, in most cases, after prolonged type 2 diabetes, the pancreas may be destroyed. But in a situation of type 2 diabetes, the pancreas is able to produce insulin. However, the issue is the insulin action. The insulin is not able to convert glucose in the blood into glycogen in the muscle. This is as a result of insulin receptor. The insulin receptor on the muscles, on the liver, are not able to pick sufficient glucose from the blood. Hence, the individual has hyperglycemia. There's hyperglycemia in that individual. Now, we can overemphasize the fact that type 2 diabetes accounts for about 90 to 95% of all cases of diabetes. And that's the reason why in our lab, we ensure we give attention to type 2 diabetes. Now, this article of mine was also a review that I wrote about bioactive compound, that is these food bioactives that people have claimed to have health promotion. What should we consider before we say that a particular food bioactive has the capacity to prevent disease and promote health? Now, what comes to our mind is that there must be interaction, good interaction between these food bioactives and the disease. The disease must be targeting a particular thing, must be targeting a particular enzyme, hormones, biomolecules. There must be a target. And if there's a target, when there's a form of modulation, a form of attenuation, a form of amelioration, then we talk about effectiveness of these food bioactives. We could also say that you could also describe anything that will add health claim must also receive acceptability. There must be some forms of acceptability. So it must be acceptable to people. If it is food bioactives, people, it should not be something that will cause damage to their body after taking it. There are several things that people sell on the street. So the advent of the green bottle, where people sell aphrodisiac or in green bottle, in green plastic bottles, it's all around, and people claim it will have health benefit. Fine, it could perform that biological function that you have said, but how sure are you that it's not causing another damage in the body? And so that's the reason why it's critical to always consider these two major factors before we can say that something has health benefits. Okay, now, and of course, the critical one is that there must be interaction between the structure of these food bioactives and the biological functions. Okay, now I want to talk about a few things here before we go on to look at some food bioactives and how they are able to prevent or promote health in some conditions. Okay, so in this case, we have basic carbohydrate digestion, in which your starch is hydrolyzed into maltose by alpha amylase, and then the maltose is now hydrolyzed into 2 molecules of glucose, and then it enters into the blood. And this is facilitated by an enzyme called alpha glucosidase. So these 2 enzymes are critical, and most drugs that are recommended for one of the drugs recommended for type 2 diabetes, it works on these principles. Okay, so the name of that drug is acarbose, and from my slide we can see how it's coming in to release glucose into the blood. So I want to quickly talk about a few experiments that I have done, or we have done in our group in Functional Foods, Nutraceuticals, and Phytomedicine Research Lab. Okay, so now I want to talk about food bioactives in diabetes. So some years ago, this was actually part of my PhD work in 2012, where I checked some cloves, some spices that are used for pepper soup. So if you eat good pepper soup, you can be sure that you have good, because there will be good dilation, good cleansing from the body, because most of these diabetes spices contain clove, contains black pepper, Ashanti pepper, alligator pepper, and the likes. Now, I went on to look at this in animal model to specifically look at clove, because clove showed interesting results in that experiment. I went on to check this blood lowering capacity and lipid lowering capacity of dietary clove in animal model of type 2. At least, so I can say categorically that in Nigeria, I was one of the set of people that worked on this model, because this model of and diabetes. We went on to also do other experiments on this low to validate our claim on the fact. In another experiment, plant called African birch. African birch is commonly used in the management of diabetes. So he's taking this African birch, okay, and then the person is taking the common drug, acarbose. We looked at the synergistic effect. We saw that it was able, the combination of African birch and acarbose was able to inhibit these enzyme alpha amylase, alpha glucosidase that are critical in carbohydrate hydrolysis. Okay, we went on to look at a particular garlic. This garlic acid also has good biological function, is able to this food bioactives by the name garlic acid with this structure. This is the structure of garlic acid, and then this garlic acid was able to combine with acarbose to give effect. We went on to look at how structures can affect the functions of some of these food bioactives. We looked at garlic acid and protocatechoic acid. Now, garlic acid and protocatechoic acid, they are called hydroxybenzoic acid. Now, if you look at the structures, okay, now the garlic acid had came. My external examiner for PhD actually came and said, these spices, you have done a lot of work. Because when he came, he asked me, how many publications do I have for my PhD work? So I told him about 4 or 5 at that time. He said, that's very good, that he actually wanted to attack me on this, that I did not look at the effect of cooking. And afterwards, so after my PhD exam, I went on to on the bioactive substances. So we went on to look at effect of cooking on this, on turmeric. Turmeric is a major, turmeric has a particular food bioactive called curcumin. Curcumin has been linked to a lot of biological functions, including that of diabetes. So we saw here that cooking, especially when we cook our turmeric to up to about 10-15 minutes, cooking enhances polyphenol composition, antioxidant, anti-diabetic effect. We also went on to check the effect on clove as well. Now, in terms of clove, cooking enhances it to about 5 minutes. But when it gets to about 10-15 minutes, the polyphenol content, the food bioactives that are present, will begin to decrease. So we can see that in some foods, cooking may enhance them. I haven't worked on this kind of I haven't worked, extensively on. I start to cook. If you want to cook your spices or your vegetables, let it be within 5 minutes. 5 minutes, you can still get some good benefits from it. All right, so we also saw here that clove also reduce blood glucose level. Now, we attributed some of these things to the abundance of some food bioactives. Now, let's look at some food bioactives on a food slide by the name camphorol. Camphorol is abundant in this clove. Quercetin, quercetin, all of these, they are abundant in clove. And no wonder it has anti-diabetic effect. Okay, so we could see all of this. Because of our time, I want to jump some things and move on to another situation about bioactives in Alzheimer's disease. Bioactives in Alzheimer's disease. Now, Alzheimer's disease, like I said, is a neurodegenerative disorder that is characterized by memory loss and cognitive dysfunction. We could see here that alligator pepper. I remember my supervisor in masters saying that atare will make you last. You know, he said there's a Yoruba adage, Yoruba panegyrics that says that atare ma je ko gbo, atare ma je ko gbo. So we check two species of atare of alligator pepper here, and we saw that they're able to inhibit acetylcholinesterase. Acetylcholinesterase is an enzyme that helps to hydrolyze acetylcholine into choline and acetate. Yeah, acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter in the brain. So it transmits impulses in the brain into the synaptic cleft, But, you know, in someone that has depletion of the neuron, it is better to retain as much acetylcholine as possible instead of hydrolyzing it. So we saw in our experiment that acetylcholinesterase was inhibited. We also carried out another study where we used mucuna yerepe seed, you know, and moringa seed. We saw that this moringa seed and yerepe seed are able to enhance cognition. They are able to enhance cognition. We also went on to examine another food bioactives, caffeic acid and chlorogenic acid. This caffeic acid and chlorogenic acid, they are abundant in vegetables. They are found especially in our green vegetables in Africa. They are also, we also saw that this chlorogenic acid and caffeic acid are able to prevent Alzheimer's disease and prevent oxidative stress in the brain. Okay, we also went on to look at another polyphenol, ferulic acid. This ferulic acid is abundant in maize. When you eat your maize, you are eating ferulic acid. When you boil your maize, the ferulic acid is increased. When you so we can see here, when you put your corn, or when you roast your corn, you are eating some level of ferulic acid. We saw here that ferulic acid was also able to modulate cadmium-induced brain damage. We went on to look at protocatechoic acid. This protocatechoic acid is found in rice. It's also found in some cereals. Okay, this protocatechoic acid is able to inhibit some critical enzymes like the sodium potassium ATPase that are present in the brain. Now, the sodium potassium ATPase in the brain helps in maintaining balance in the brain. And then the cholinergic enzyme, which are majorly the acetylcholinesterase and the butyrylcholinesterase, antioxidant enzymes. Talking about the superoxide dismutase, catalase, glutathione peroxidase, they are important critical enzymes in the brain. We also have this study done by one of my PhD students at that time. Okay, she went to request for some of the plants that are used for babalawo by babalawo for treating mad people, and we discover that, you know, these two plants, they were able to inhibit these critical enzymes of the brain. This study, we use berberine. This is the structure of berberine. Is an alkaloid. Is an isoquinolone alkaloid, which can enhance memories and prevent anxious behavior. Okay, of course, this berberine is also found in a number of plants, including some of our plants in Africa here. Okay, we saw in this plant that we saw in this food bioactives that it was even able to prevent cell death of the brain. Now, the neurons of the brain in Alzheimer's disease, they are about to die. It made me to remember a particular scripture. The Bible says in the book of Isaiah that a reed thou shalt not break. A reed wants to break, so you should not break it. So in a similar manner, your berberine is able to prevent cell death. The brain that wants to the brain that wants to die will be revived by berberine. Okay, thyme is also thyme that is used as culinary. Okay, culinary. Okay, this thyme can also prevent brain damage. We can talk about a lot of things. Ginkgo biloba that is used in India. We can talk about curcuma longa, that's our turmeric, Panacea, Salvia, officinale. Okay, all of these, they are common in South Africa and South America. And these are the structures of these are food bioactives that are able to prevent brain damage. So we also talked about caffeic acid and chlorogenic acid being able to prevent brain damage. We talk about food colorants that are natural. They are natural food colorants like brimstone tree, Morinda lucida. We could also, these are able to prevent brain damage. We could talk about a lot of these coloring agents being able to prevent brain damage. Now, there's a particular plant. This plant is called guarana. Guarana is just like we drink a lot of beverage, a lot of beverage in Africa. In Southern America, they like this drink produced from guarana. Guarana is their plant, and we checked the ability of this guarana to prevent brain damage. We also saw that this guarana was very good in protecting the brain from damage. Okay, chlorogenic acid can also protect the brain from damage. Now, moringa, we went on to use some brain cells. We used brain cells in this case, and we saw that the moringa that falls on the ground, the leaf is able to protect against brain damage. So these are interesting results. Now, another one is piperine. Piperine is found in black pepper. Now, black pepper is called euru in Yoruba, and the southeastern people, they eat a lot of black pepper. They add it to their food. They call it.
Sorry, sir.
Yes.
The meeting will soon end in the next 7 minutes. So if it ends, let everybody read the link. So
we need to relaunch the link after.
No, we join through the link in the next 7 minutes.
Okay, all right.
All right, sir. Thanks, sir.
Can I continue? Hope you are hearing me. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we continue from there. So bioactive. I want to talk about bioactives in erectile dysfunction. Now, in erectile dysfunction, for normal erection for sexual activity, nitric oxide must be produced. Now, this nitric oxide originates from a particular organ called cavernosa vascular endothelium. Now, this nitric oxide, the moment nitric oxide is produced, then there could be erection. However, this nitric oxide could serve as substrate, could be used. Okay, so let me talk like a layman. Could be used by two major enzymes, arginase and nitric oxide synthase. Okay, now arginine. Arginine is a major substrate for nitric oxide production. This arginine can also serve as substrate for arginase. I'm sure students of biochemistry would have heard about arginines before in their urea cycle. So there are two competitors. One needs it for production of nitric oxide, for proper erection for sexual activity. The other one needs it for urea cycle. Now, for that to happen, for proper utilization of that nitric oxide, the nitric oxide synthase must act. The nitric oxide synthase must ensure that nitric oxide is produced. And then the other person that wants to utilize arginate, we say, please, we don't need you here, because what we need is nitric oxide. So arginase will tell arginine, please wait a while. So arginine will just say, please, I want nitric oxide synthase to utilize me and not you. So, and then when that happens, proper penile erection occurs. And that talks about the moment nitric oxide is released, then vasodilation can happen, and then there can be erection for sexual activity. Now, it's a major issue with men in nowadays. So we did some research on them. Number one, we used almond. Almond, it's a plant. Of course, if you are a fruitarian, you will see it behind. Almond grows behind School of Agric. You see it there. So you have almond drupe and almond hull. So all of them these are important for sexual activity. We went on to evaluate the bioactive components there. We saw that rutin and quercetin are present in abundance in this drupe and all of almond. And then we also checked them for some critical enzyme in vitro, and we saw that they inhibited these enzymes. They did that in the test tube. They also did that in animal models. We had animal models for erectile dysfunction, and we saw that the quercetin and rutin were able to inhibit that. And we also saw that p-coumaric acid did likewise, okay, and on like that. We could see here beta carotene also did that did a lot of inhibition of an enzyme. All right, so now having said that, okay, so I want to talk about the last one. Okay, in this case is about arthritis. All right, inflammation is associated with virtually all diseases, but in arthritis, okay, in arthritis you talk about swelling, destruction of the bones and the likes. And then in pleurisy talks about inflammation of the lungs. Now, during COVID, a lot of people died because there were inflammation along their gastrointestinal is found in them. Asperidine was able to cause apoptosis. Apoptosis talks about programmed cell death. It was able to modulate cell cycle, and it was also able to modulate reactive oxygen species production. We also went on to look at iginol. Iginol is one of the major bioactives in our clove board. You know, I told you I did a lot of work on clove board. So iginol was able to also modulate some enzymes that are critical in the pathophysiology of arthritis. We went on to check quercetin in an arthritic rat. So we said that quercetin is present in a number of vegetables, in a number of fruits. In fact, virtually in all plant foods, you see quercetin in certain amounts in them. So food rich in quercetin can prevent that. So we could also see here asperidine doing fantastic job in some of these. So in all, saying that quercetin and rutin in this article, we can see rutin doing a lot of work to prevent inflammation. Okay, we said ischemic heart disease. Don't forget that I said in ischemic heart disease the other time that ischemic heart disease has two major risk factors: hypertension. We can see the moringa leaf and seed being able to protect, to prevent hypertension here. And we attribute it to camphor, to quercetin, and to garlic acid. Again, hypercholesterolemia is another risk factor that our alligator pepper can reduce hypercholesterolemia. Okay, yes. Can you see my slide?
No, sir.
Can
You
you
have to reshare.
We have to.
Reshare the screen. We can't see.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay. Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. All right. So I was trying to conclude. So because I know we have actually spent a lot of time, but it's just to. All right. So I was trying to conclude here by saying that our alligator pepper can also play crucial role because of the abundance of these food bioactives. Okay, it has GABA, it has interesting, interesting food components. Now, I want to conclude by saying that we must avoid junks. We must avoid junks. We must eat food, fruits and vegetables. We must ensure that we live, we eat based on food bioactives. Now, food bioactives have capacity to fight diseases. They can promote health and wellness. Now, it's important to know that these food bioactives, they are in the food. And research has shown that when they are together, they can do some synergistic work with regards to health promotion and disease prevention. As we can see within this slide, that food bioactive that is present in the food, they work together within the confines of the food, and then they can exert their additive or synergistic effect in order to provide certain salutary effects. So the way forward and our take home, we must eat based on food bioactives. We must look beyond nutrients. No, we must look beyond carbohydrates, protein, and all other food components. We must extend our tentacles towards food bioactives, and we must live healthily. Now, I want to acknowledge all these agents and institutions that have benefited from International Society of Neurochemistry, TUD, Trieste, and a number of organizations, TWAS, CAPS, CMPQ, Alexander Obod, AAS, ICTP, and I also must thank my supervisor, who is the head of functional food and nutraceutical, Professor Gani Yobo. It's good to build good relationship. One of the things God has made me to enjoy in life, and which I'm grateful for, is that I had a relationship with Professor Obo when he was my teacher in secondary school. So as young people, I want to encourage you to develop relationship to ensure that you have good mentors at this stage of life. I'm eternally grateful to him for his mentorship over me. All right, so I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for listening, and I wish you best of luck. I'm hopeful that I'll see you at the top soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was
Thank you,
very
sir.
good.
So much.
Thank you so much, sir. That was very impactful session, sir. Grateful, sir. Any questions from anybody? Can raise your hand up if you want to ask questions, or you can comment below in the chat box. Any questions for our speaker? You can raise up your hand or relate in the chat box below. Okay, sir. Sir, I have a question, sir.
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, you said we should reduce our intake of agbo from the herbalist, the Babalawo people. So, but most of these fruits and like the clove, the moringa and that leaf, most of them are the constituents of most of our agbo. And how can we like tell a normal person that this is the reason for not taking agbo if each of these the component, the foods are important to our health? Thank you, sir.
Okay, I should respond to this one.
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
All right. Yes. I didn't say we should not take agbo. Okay. Yorubas have a saying, and they say that there was something chicken were eating before Onyibos came. All right. And we can categorically say that agbo is effective. All right. Now, the only issue with intake of agbo is abuse. Okay, abuse. So people don't know where to start, where to stop, and that's the reason why it's good. Instead of drinking agbo, if it is something to eat, is better. So in most cases in our research group, we advocate for eating. For example, you want to prepare bitter leaf infusion. We advise that instead of bitter leaf infusion, why not eat bitter leaf vegetable? All right. Now, in that vegetable, the infusion is trapped inside. The leaf is there. And as you are chewing the leaf will supply some level of fiber. You can get other nutrients instead of squeezing out, squeezing until you don't know the concentration that will be hepatotoxic. You don't know the concentration that can cause damage. So that's the reason why we do advise. But honestly, the agbo is working. But how do you arrive at a concentration that is not damaging to your system? So that is actually the major reason. In order to avoid abuse, it's better to take it, in a particular concentration that is not hepatotoxic. That's the response I have for that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. All right. If you have any other question, you can type it in the chat box or raise your hand up so that you can speak. Any other questions from participants? You can either chat it in the chat and write it in the chat box. Okay, sir, we have a question from Akintoye Marcos Oindamola. Herbs are naturally good, but the problem is yes. Okay, it was relaying to what you said earlier.
I have a question,
okay.
Sir.
Okay. Shalom.
So, sir,
okay.
Yes, sir. Based on my hearing, sir, you mentioned that when cooking, especially things like vegetables, you should try to make it an average of 5 minutes for cooking or boiling or the likes. My question is on how do we strike that balance between
I could no longer hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Shalom.
Can you tell him to send a message to the chat box?
Sir, he has left the meeting. I think it's network.
Okay, all right, all right.
Network
I
problem.
have a question,
Any
sir.
other?
All right,
Okay,
please.
okay.
My question is, are there any challenges, are there any concerns or challenges associated with the consumption of bioactive rich foods that individuals should be aware of? So if no, how can we incorporate more bioactive rich foods into our diet for better health?
Okay, can I respond?
Yes, sir.
Can I respond?
Yes, sir, you can respond, sir.
All right, yes. Yes, there are concerns about food bioactives, especially when you isolate them from food or from plants. Now they are alone now. And so that means the concentration that should be consumed when they are alone should be lesser, should be minimal, should be very small because they are now concentrated. So, however, there are nutraceuticals that have been produced. You know, there are nutraceuticals that have been made from some, for example, if you go to some supermarkets, they sell lycopene tablets. That lycopene, instead of getting your lycopene from tomatoes, they have packaged it, they've extracted the lycopene, and they now sell it in form of tablets. So we call that category nutraceuticals. So we can actually get it in that form. However, the challenge with taking bioactives is outside of food. Are you getting what I'm saying? Outside of food, it's that danger of toxicity. However, when you consume food that are rich in bioactive, it's just food. So your desire, for example, I could pick bitter cola and chew bitter cola. I may decide to cook soup rich with turmeric. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So in that case, I'm eating food. I'm not afraid of any danger because it is the food that I'm eating, but I'm eating based. Have I answered the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Sir, we have another question from Ali Kuka. Said, sir, can bioactive be used with drugs or they will conflict with each other? Like there is a saying that you should not take vitamin C with malaria drugs.
Okay. All right. Now, thank you very much for that question. Now, when you talk about food bioactives, you must understand the structure. Now, there was a particular slide I showed you, and I told you it was a review I wrote some years ago about food bioactives and health. Now, the interaction between drug and food bioactive is very important. There must be interrelationship. There must be interaction between drugs and these bioactives. The level of their interaction will guarantee whether they will cause what we call, whether they will provide a synergistic effect or additive effect or antagonistic effect. It's possible that a particular drug will give antagonistic effect. And of course, you will get an insight into this by looking at their structures. Now, this one will take us back to basic chemistry. I'm sure in your chemistry, you learned about the SN1 and SN2 mechanism, where functional groups interact. Now, the interaction of these functional groups is germane when we talk about druggability of a particular compound. Now, so for synergy, the drug should be able to interact synergistically or additively. If they will cause harm, that means there's an antagonistic effect. One is working this way, the other one is working against it. So in that case, it's better to take the drug maybe at interval. If you have a time interval between the intake of the drug and the intake of the food bioactive. This also has to do with food-drug interaction. Now, there are certain food, for example, when you are taking an antibiotics, you are not supposed to take milk-related products. You are not supposed to take milk-related products. Same way, vitamin C and anti-malaria, because the interaction of the functional groups of the drug and the food bioactives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, we have another. Okay. We have Zeno Bolaide. You can ask a question.
Hello, sir.
Hello, please go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the lecture.
Yes.
My question is that most of the food we eat nowadays are genetically modified food. Can we still get the actual bioactive compounds from those foods? From GMO food?
Yes, all right. Now, in GMO foods, okay, there are advocates. There are people who are advocates of GMOs. They say that GMOs will not cause diseases. However, there are indications of loss of phytochemicals, loss of some of these food bioactives in GMOs. So there could be loss. Of course, there could be reduction. It's not as if you will have entire absence, okay? There could be loss in the concentration because as the gene is being modified, there could be disarray of the conglomerates of these food bioactives in food. So obviously, in GMOs, the food bioactives eliminated. But obviously, there could be significant or not significant loss in some of these food bioactives. Have I answered your question very well, Zina?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right, sir. I have a question, sir.
All right, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Over the years, sir, we've heard about a case whereby some human systems are allergic to particular drugs or stuff like that, sir. So my question is now, sir, is it possible for human body system to be allergic to food bioactives, sir?
Yes, I will say yes. Now, when you talk about allergens, okay, there could be food allergies. Now, some people, if they try to taste bitter leaf, they will not sleep that night because they will be scratching their bodies, okay, just bitter leaf, okay. So there are people who are allergic to certain things, and the major thing that is causing that food allergies in most cases, they are the glycosides, especially in bitter leaf. Glycosides, okay, is the glycoside that is giving it that bitter taste. Some forms of alkaloid compounds that are bitter in that leaf, okay, they are the components that are conferring that form of allergy. So it's possible that some food bioactives can give some people allergies. Some people, the moment they eat anything like this, they will have some marks on their body. Some people will itch their bodies. So these are food allergies. And of course, the moment they eat certain foods, same with some drugs. Some people, if they take chloroquine will provide that allergy for them. Okay, so it's food bioactives could also give some forms of allergy. Okay.
All right, sir. So there's a question from Akintoye Marcos. Do bioactive also mean organic compounds that aids and improves healthiness? For example, strawberry contains ethyl methyl glycidate and ester.
Yeah. Yeah, they could be organic compounds, okay? But obviously, they are not nutrients. They are extra nutritional components, okay? They are not nutritional components. They are not carbohydrates. They are not proteins. They are not fat and oil. They are not, in most cases, they are not minerals and vitamins, okay? So all those ones are nutrients. They are nutrients that can help in body build up. But in this case, they are extra nutritional. They are extra nutritional. So in case in vitamin C and vitamin E, they can be nutrients. They can also act as food bioactives. All right. Have I
Thank you
answered
so
that
much.
question? All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So we
Thank
have a
you so
question
much.
from Adedipe Samuel. Do we
Okay,
have
I
any
did this.
bioactive compound that can be consumed as food, which can be of help to increase student brain capacity?
All right. Now, I like this question. And most of my students, there's something I used to tell them. If you are reading and you discover that you are not assimilating, you know the first thing to go and do, go and eat. That means your brain requires glucose. You know the issue I have with some students, or more students, especially students who are religious, okay? They are core Muslim, core Christian, and they inculcate fasting. They are reading, they are preparing for exam, and they are fasting. The brain will not assimilate anything because they only for the brain.
Do you want please mute yourself?
The only food for the brain is glucose. So please, before you do anything, especially when you are reading, in the moment you have decided to read academic books, please make sure that you have something in your tummy. Now, about the brain. Now, the brain is critical. Why is the brain critical? There's something called the blood-brain barrier. There are certain things that will prevent bioactive compounds from crossing the brain. So the nature of the compound is very important. So any lipophilic agent that can cross the blood-brain barrier will be good for the brain. So from what we have done in our lab, we have, food. I can categorically say that pepper soup is good. Pepper is also good for the brain. The Yoruba says, so it's good to eat pepper. Eat pepper for good brain, for sharp brain. Alligator pepper. All of these are good for the brain. Okay. So, and then as you are eating, there are certain components in this food that are food bioactives that will now exert their bioavailability in the brain because they can critically cross the brain. Yes, thank you. Someone said pepper has capsaicin. Absolutely. Capsaicin is another important food bioactive. Honestly, I would have worked on capsaicin in my research. But the issue with capsaicin is that it's very expensive. To buy small quantity, and then most times it's students that will do the job. So I don't want to really bring a lot of burden on students to go and buy capsaicin. Also, so by the time I have sufficient research grant, I can order for capsaicin, and then we can test capsaicin on the brain. But obviously, eating pepper can make your brain sharp. Alligator pepper, black pepper, and all of those stuff. Ashanti pepper, Ethiopian pepper, all of these, they are good for the brain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes. Sir, somebody asked a question relating to the allergic reaction. He said, what is your advice to the allergic conditions caused by these bioactives?
Okay. The truth of the matter is that if you are allergic to something, run away from it. Now, God has given us so many things in Africa. Okay. One of the things that God has given us in Africa is that we have biodiversity. If you walk from your hostel or where you are living and you walk to your junction, you will see more than 50 different plants, depending on the distance from your house to your junction. Different leaves, different plants, different things. The same thing with food. We don't have problem with food in Africa. Unlike the white people, they have limited food, cake and donuts. They don't have variety of foods, unlike us. So if a particular food is or food bioactive or food is giving you allergy, please run away from it so that you will not put yourself in consistent trouble of itching, of coloration, of discoloration, and the likes. So my advice is to stay put with food that will not give you allergies. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And sir, somebody is asking question relating to consumption of pepper. He said, sir, we get to know that pepper causes maybe peptic ulcer. So should we still consume it?
No, that's not true. That's not true. Pepper, the organism is a I've forgotten the name of that organism that causes. There's an organism. It's an infection. It's an infection.
Helicobacter pylori.
Yes, pylori. Please again. Yes,
Helicobacter pylori.
That's the organism that causes a peptic ulcer. Now, if someone has peptic ulcer, it is not pepper that caused it, but pepper will aggravate it. Now, what is the meaning of ulceration? Okay, ulceration means that there is wound in the stomach. Stomach ulcer means there is wound in the stomach. Now, if you have wound on your leg or in your hand and you now put pepper, how will you feel? You will feel the pain. So in this case, the stomach lining has wound that has been created by Helicobacter pylori. Consumption of pepper will destroy it. Now, pepper has a lot of acid. It will generate some forms of acid, and the acid goes there to complicate that issue. So it's not only pepper. Any food that will generate acid will complicate stomach ulcer. Are we following now? And that's the reason why there are recommendations of what do you call it? I've forgotten the family name of that drug. There's that recommendation to take gelucine because they can create alkaline medium in the stomach. What do you call it? Miss Mag. Okay, Miss Mag. What did you call it?
The crop.
Hello.
They are antacids, sir.
Antacid, yes, thank you very much. The antacid, okay. Yeah, so we call them antacid because they can generate alkaline medium around that environment so that environment will heal up. Okay, so that is and then omeprazole can also do some work with regards to that. Okay. Any other question?
Any other question? I think that's all for now.
Right,
thank you so much very much, sir, for your time, sir. It was really insightful.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. You can appreciate him in the comment section. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you for having me.
Yes,
thank
sir.
You for having me.
Sir, concerning mentorship, sir, can we come and meet you personally? Because
yes, no problem.
Have it best
my doors are open, so you can always check my office. Olaboye, they can give you my phone number. You can call me. I receive call but please don't call me late in the night because I sleep early, but I wake up in the night. But anytime you can call me, you can ask questions, and I will oblige you by God's grace.
So can we also have access to the slides?
Yes, you can have access to it.